Pokémon Legends ZA, Pokemon's latest upcoming title, is bringing back the beloved Mega Evolution mechanic. But recently, just as always, the hackers have tapped in and leaked all the new Megas being introduced. Let's get into the leaks and my predictions on what their stats will be and how this will potentially affect the meta. Starting with, this time around, Game Freak is really going in with giving Kalos Pokemon the Megas they have rightfully deserved, which you will be seeing more of later on. Starting with the fan favorite Greninja, we do have a reference on what it could be like in Ash Greninja. The trend among Megas is adding 100 to the base stat total of the base Pokemon. Ash Greninja, however, adds 110 points, which is about the same as a Mega Evolution. Ash Greninja dominated Gen 7 OU despite the fact that it needed a kill in order to transform. The immediate power of a Mega Greninja, with its incredibly deep move pool and strong stabs, could prove too much for OU, although it does require using up your Mega slot. The trend among Megas is to usually keep the typing of a dual type Pokemon to be same as the base form, while adding new type to a monotype Pokemon. This has exceptions like Mega Charizard X, Aggron and Altaria, but I'll be basing my predictions on the fact that dual types don't usually change. But I will list the cases where the secondary typing is not really a core part of the design and it might change. Delphox will most likely retain its mediocre Fire and Psychic typing, rendering it weak to good old Stealth Rock, and also moves like Knock Off and Earthquake. Meaning despite probably having great offenses with stat points added to a decent 114 special attack and potential to be really fast with 104 speed and the added points, in my opinion it will get revenge killed really easily and overwhelmed without really achieving that much. This is the case where I think there is a chance to see the fighting type go away in favor of whatever typing the new Mega design calls for. If I had to guess, this might be a new Steel and Grass type, together with incredible amounts of bulk and potentially be a bulky offense spike setter plus defensive wall, but usually people don't use their Megas for a defensive Pokemon. And there's a certain bird Mega which might compete for this role. Speaking of, Skarmory will probably retain its Steel Flying type, but considering how good its base form is already, and how it can benefit from a really good ability, Mega Evolution might make it more specially defensive as well, which has been one of its weaknesses in the past. I guess Game Freak loves Stall as much as Smogon. Speaking of, yes, this Pink Blob Demon is receiving a Mega, but I think it might not be as good as, but you might assume it to be. First, it might lose its valuable Magic Guard, making it prone to Hazard's Chip as well as status. It will also probably lose Unaware, which is good news for the stall hitters. And if you look at its stats, its highest stat is tied at 95 with special attack and HP, meaning the Mega could very well take an offensive role. I predict an offensively oriented Mega Clefable would not be as good and might potentially be worse than a Life Orb Calm Mindset, and even that isn't very good right now. It's finally time our boy Dragonite makes use of the generational gimmick it was always supposed to. Having made great use of Z moves for a flying stab and also terrestrialization, it will now probably continue OU domination with a Mega boosting its stats to where they should be. It can easily set up Dragon Dance safely with multiscale, then proceed to Mega Evolve and destroy teams with those stats, but loss of heavy duty boots in the item slots is a cause for concern. It is safe to assume a Ground Steel Mega Excadrill is about to get insane offenses and potentially some speed too, allowing it to function outside of sand as a threatening Swords Dance sweeper which can also remove hazards and increase its speed with Rapid Spin. This guy has some promise. Already at 145 special attack, a boost to this, which is probably going to happen, is going to result in one of the best Shadow Ball spammers in the tier. Hopefully it gets some speed and a good ability as well. But hazard weakness again seems to be an issue as heavy duty boots are not usable due to holding a Mega Stone. In my opinion, Hawlucha might just have a better base form than a Mega, since the terrain and the Unburden set, although not as good anymore, was too unique to make a Pokemon with not very impressive stats good. With the insane Mega competition with the new and the old Megas, it might not be worth using your Mega slot on Hawlucha, unless it gets blatant pandering from Game Freak with something like huge power. This is one of the more interesting Megas in terms of how it will function. Power Construct is already a pseudo Mega Evolution which changes Zygarde into its monstrous 100% form with incredible amounts of bulk. I believe they'll make a Mega something like Zygarde 100% which you can activate immediately. It is already one of the best walls in National Dex and might be something to watch out for Ubers in the next generation. This Pokemon has always been a Sun offense Pokemon, but I don't think Game Freak will allow it to retain Chlorophyll in its Mega form, which together with boosted stats could still be good, but still very niche. My prediction is that it will end up being a very generic offensive Pokemon, but will probably be a menace for the lower tiers. This dude is out of the hood and now seems to show promise with a Mega Evolution. It already has great ability and moves, but does not have the stats for it. Mega Evolution will fix that. Intimidate before Mega Evolving is great, allowing you to pivot in safely, and it can also set up and sweep with Dragon Dance. I do believe that we will be seeing it get way more speed than it does, and that will change everything. Because at its current speed, this dude can't outspeed Pokemon like Serperior and non-speed boosted Iron Valiant even after a Dragon Dance. Knock Off and Drain Punch are great moves. Underpowered Pokemon like Scrafty will probably get a more broken ability, which will pair great with its offensive sets. Mega Scrafty is an underrated threat with its Dragon Dance set. Rapid Spin might allow it to have roll compression with hazard removal and speed boosting options, which are very valuable for a Mega Pokemon. It does not resist Stealth Rock, which is an issue for consistent spins, and also does not like facing ghost types like Dragapult or specially defensive Goldengo, which might block its spinning attempts. It really depends on how hard Starmie goes with its offenses, especially as a Mega Evolution. It is a suicide lead with supportive moves like Spikes, Destiny Bond and Taunt. Nobody likes using a Mega Evolution on a Pokemon that is destined to die anyways. However, it might pivot into a more offensive role when it Mega Evolves, but I don't think it is showing any signs of viability with its poor defensive typing and hazard weakness. If it retains speed boost after Mega Evolving, or gets a broken offensive ability which will make it so it can set up a Swords Dance or a Sweet Boost before Mega Evolving, it might be a decent late game cleaner, although the typing is not ideal offensively or defensively alongside a hazard weakness. I have an interesting prediction for Pyroar, where I think it will get an ability that turns its normal type moves into fire type and gives them an additional boost. Basically Aerialate and Pixelate, but for fire types. Really specific predictions aside, I don't think it is getting picked over Mega Charizard Y or even a new fire type Mega Evolution like Chandelier. Stealth Rock does not do it any favors either. I think Game Freak is about to make this one really good, as it plays a vital role in the story, being AZ's main Pokemon and also Fairy type just being that good. Floette will also probably get a secondary typing like Psychic or Grass, but I think it is going to be a major threat in the future. This guy has the potential to be a great sweeper with the Shell Smash set. We have seen Mega Blastoise getting banned from National Dex when it got Shell Smash back in Gen 8. Barbecle just might be the next Mega Blastoise, although that does seem to be an over-exaggeration. I do think Barbecle may be good just because it has Shell Smash, and also with Mega abilities and stat boosts, it just might be enough. Drampa has an incredibly deep move pool with Fire Blast, Energy Ball and really good stab options in Hyper Voice as well as Draco Meteor. Although probably not good enough for OU considering the competition for a Mega slot, but I do think Drampa's heightened offenses from an already incredible 135 special attack and more optimized defensive profile, probably a change in typing as well with a good ability, will make it a decent breaker. I think now is the time this guy finally gets a fighting type. This is probably going to be the first electric fighting Pokemon in the series, which is actually a really decent offensive typing, with stats like those and stabs like Close Combat and Plasma Fist. I think Mega Zeraora is probably going to be a Mega you're going to be seeing more of in the future. No Retreat guy is probably still not going to be that good because of the fact it does not even get knockoff. And No Retreat is not a very good move considering switching is one of the most important aspects of Pokemon. Omni Boosted Mega does sound threatening once set up, but with moves like Encore, Taunt and Will-O-Wisp, not being able to switch is a huge liability, which I don't think Mega Phalanx will be able to fix. Of course, you never know how unbalanced a Mega might be, so there's a chance this little guy might rip apart teams. Dragalge does have one of the most interesting typings in the game in Poison Dragon, which I don't think is really going to change. But Dragalge really has potential in its ability and also its move pool, which includes pivoting moves like Flip Turn and also has incredible special defense. It just needs that little bump up to its special attack, and I think Dragalge might be the underrated pick of all the Megas introduced in Legends EA. Ending with, of course, the starters are indeed getting Mega Evolutions. Let's break them down. The only Unova starter, Emboar, might finally get the love and be the wrecking ball that everyone wants it to be. If the speed is not improved upon, it will still face the problem of being mediocre defensively against a really fast and offensive meta, probably seeing all the mega evolutions we have covered so far. Immunity to burn and access to really strong stab options looks very promising, but it depends whether he's a speedster or not. My prediction is that Meganium will be a grass fairy type. It just feels right. Leech Seed and Synthesis Wall does sound good alongside being a knockoff sponge and the potential fairy type, also removing the U-turn weakness. It resists Volt Switch along with Earthquake. Matches up great into common offensive moves. I can see it having Grassy Surge too. It will be interesting where Meganium ends up and if its promising defensive profile can get any usage at all. Galarian Slowking is something that it needs to watch out for though. It might gain either Dark, Dragon, Ice or Steel secondary typing, but it is definitely getting a secondary type. Whatever that may be, one thing is for sure, Dragon Dance will be the way to go. It's now up to Game Freak whether they'll make it offensively threatening enough to be Dragon Dancing all over OU, or be worse than the current Sheer Force Life Offset. So this is it for all the megas that have been leaked so far. Please keep in mind that these are just predictions and I'm not actually telling you any leaked information, because there isn't one yet. It is just the names of the Pokemon that are going to get megas that have been leaked.